I must have gone further into orbit than I thought. Is that the cast of I Dream of Jeannie? It sure is. You wished it and we aim to please.
Oh, master.
This wacky 60s sitcom still gets people talking to this day, with some pretty surprising debates, and some scathing criticisms directed towards the portrayal of gender roles. But with the societal context of the 1960s, and just how dang funny the sitcom was, this timeless show brought a lot of joy to a lot of families, and the cast themselves know that they made something truly special.
Master?
Yeah?
Sit down, master. Yeah?
I'm your genie, Nostalgic Nick, here to grant your wish, to find out about the cast of I Dream of Jeannie. Running from 1965 to 1970, Jeannie boasted a small, talented core cast that got people talking about gender norms, the space program, and a very intense war with another magical blonde, Samantha Stevens of Bewitched. So did any of the actors find magic again in their careers? Let's find out. If you enjoy this throwback, be sure to give it a thumbs up for us, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Without further ado, let's grant some wishes. Barbara Eden, the beautiful lady in the bottle herself. Jeannie's life was a whole lot of nothing for a whole lot of years. 2,000 to be exact. That is until a marooned pilot frees her. When these two lock eyes, it's love at first sight. For her, anyway. One quick stowaway mission later, Jeannie becomes an inseparable part of Captain Nelson's life, with the sole goal of pleasing her master.
I know this more than anything else in my whole life. And I have lived a long time.
Barbara Eden probably had a lot of wishes she'd have liked granted growing up. The Great Depression hit her family hard, so her mother sang to Eden and her sister to lift up their spirits. This paved the way for Eden's own interest in singing, and her first public performance on the Chicago News. Eden's first big break was using her charm on Desi and making Lucy mighty jealous on a 1957 episode of I Love Lucy. That same year, she booked her own series, How to Marry a Millionaire. Then she moved to the motion pictures, joining 20th Century Fox, even starring alongside the king himself in 1960's Flaming Star. In 1964, Bewitched was the #2 show on television. And yes, we already do have a deep dive into that legendary cast, so check that one out next. So when producer Sidney Sheldon was making a competing fantasy sitcom, he knew Eden was the right choice to take on Samantha. After Jeannie ended, Barbara Eden switched gears and dove into drama, even reuniting with Jeannie co-star Larry Hagman for the 1971 made-for-TV horror, A Howling in the Woods. In 1978, Eden starred in the feature film Harper Valley PTA, based on the popular country song. She'd also star in the subsequent TV series in 1981. Then things were starting to slow down a bit for Barbara, and in 1985 she reprised her Jeannie in a TV movie in which Larry Hagman was too busy with his J.R. Ewing to participate. It was not well received.
You're both named Jeannie?
Yes. Our mother was an efficiency expert.
Everyone knew her Jeannie with that famous arm pose, but TV hosts also knew about her killer singing voice, and she frequented specials alongside Bob Hope and even Jerry Lewis. Eden spilled all the juicy details of her life with her 2011 book, Jeannie Out of the Bottle, and still honors her biggest show. When people started critiquing Jeannie as promoting sexism, Eden was quick to go on Oprah and offer her rebuttal.
I never thought Jeannie was sexist. Never. Ever. She was a genie!
Saying that Jeannie was the one in control the entire time. Sadly, Barbara suffered a huge loss and an emotional breakdown following the 2001 death of her only son, Michael, from a drug overdose. Today, she's 89 years old and still as stunning as ever, and she's still acting on occasion. We last saw her as Mrs. Claus in 2019's My Adventures with Santa. She's still magical. Larry Hagman. Space, the final frontier. Wait, wrong show, but same idea. Air Force captain turned astronaut Tony Nelson probably thought his biggest adventures happened outside the stratosphere. Boy, was he wrong. His crash landing put him right in a world of wonder and magic, I wouldn't mind accidentally finding a genie myself, as did most men who watched the lovely Jeannie. Larry Hagman wasn't a stranger to magical women, thanks to his Broadway mama, Mary Martin, who won a Tony Award for her Peter Pan in 1954. Hagman's career began in 1957, and he appeared 3 times on Lloyd Bridges' hit show Sea Hunt. Then 1964 was a very good year, when he acted alongside a young Jack Nicholson in Ensign Pulver, and then with Henry Fonda in Failsafe. A year later, he struck gold and his career rocketed, literally, with I Dream of Jeannie. Things weren't always peachy keen, even with the genie's magic, since Hagman wrestled with alcoholism throughout the show. After a while, he couldn't turn on that chipper personality, and Barbara Eden had to fight to keep him in the cast. In some people's eyes, he's the lovable, anxious astronaut Captain Nelson, displaying incredible physical comedy and manic mannerisms. But for others, he's the despicable and hateful J.R. Ewing in Dallas. Thanks to him, we got one of the most popular cliffhangers in TV history. Everyone was asking who shot JR. Even world leaders in royalty couldn't wait to find out. If I had that power, I'd definitely be tempted to order someone to tell me.
Get me the police.
I wouldn't do that if I were you, JR.
For more on the rest of the Dallas cast, be sure to check out our rewind of That Oily Bunch. Did you ever hear this astronaut and oil tycoon sing? Well, Hagman channeled his mother's Broadway chords and released his own single, Ballad of a Good Luck Charm. As Hagman himself said, JR could get away with bribery, blackmail, and adultery, but sadly Hagman couldn't get past cancer, and in 2011 he died at the age of 81. Bill Daly. Jeannie! Roger would yell after Jeannie transported him somewhere like the Arctic. Tony and Roger Healey were best friends. Roger, the resident womanizer, but also the quickest wit and comedic timing to match.
Now, don't worry, I'll help you with it.
That's right, you're a brick.
And although his character doesn't develop much, boy was he a riot. Roger was a great foil for Tony and gave him someone to talk to about his magical mayhem. Before his comedy days, he was drafted during the Korean War, at first in the artillery, then more properly the entertainment unit. After returning stateside, Daly started doing stand-up comedy, and while preparing for a Chicago area Emmy Award telecast, he asked a young Bob Newhart to come up with a routine with him. So began a fruitful relationship. When the magic ran out and Jeannie ended, Daly wasn't without for long. That friendship with Bob Newhart became vital, as he became Howard Borden on the Bob Newhart Show. This would become Daly's legacy. His most notable post-Newhart role was another supporting character, that of Larry the psychiatrist on the cult favorite Alf. After a very long and eventful life, Daly passed away in 2018 at the age of 91. It was a sad day never hearing another, "Hi Bob." At least we have reruns. Hayden Rouke. Tony really had to watch his back around Dr. Bellows, NASA's relentless psychiatrist who was dead set on proving Tony crazy or lying, or both. Never was there a funnier doctor in television history than the hilariously prissy Bellows.
Alfred, what's going on here?
I don't know, but I'm soon going to find out.
During World War II, Rorke enlisted in the Army, where he made his film debut in the musical This Is the Army, starring Ronald Reagan, for which he was uncredited as the stage manager and as a fellow soldier. It wasn't until playing Big Baddie Arn Mason in The Lone Ranger that Rorke finally got some fame. Then in 1957, he played Steve the film agent in a 9-episode arc on Mr. Adams and Eve. But it was 1965's Dr. Bellows that made Rorke recognizable to the world, and he had no qualms leaning into that. So when the reunion movie launched, he grabbed his lab coat with gusto. Hayden Rouke and his boyfriend would also have the Jeannie cast over for parties, and all around acted like a prince to everyone. So it's sad to learn that this kind soul was among the first in the Jeannie cast to die in 1987. Hayden was 76 years old. Did that please you, Master? Yeah, okay, it sounds a little weird still, but at least we never saw her belly button, right? The irony of the censors not permitting Eden's belly button to be visible was that NBC also had Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, with bikini-clad Goldie Hawn fully exposed and dancing in body paint. But oh well, that's in the past. Luckily for us, this show will never be, because it's a timeless classic 60s gem, with comedic moments that still hold up.
That's right, darling.
darling. Everything's going according to plan.
So tell us, were you more of a Bewitched fan or Team Jeannie? What was your favorite magical mishap from Eden's lovely Jeannie? The one where Tony gets genie powers definitely stands out. Tell us your best memories from this great show in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you can go into the orbit of nostalgia with us. As always, from all of us at Do You Remember, thanks for watching. Now it's time to disappear in a giant purple plume of smoke.